So let us proceed. And I know that that there are two people who will not be there today. Martha Marks is one, and Jean Hurley is another.
That's
Okay.
but I do want to point out, Ruth, that when we go through the proceedings today, just be aware that Jack is recording it. You can see that on your screen. And we'll make this available to the full board next week, because I think what we're doing today, particularly on so Kim's got some stationary issues to pull forward. We have I want to make sure we all know what the website looks like and what we're going to have to present to other people. And so it's going to be important that we make a good transfer into the board meeting on the 2nd.
Wonderful. Okay, that will be great, and then we'll be all set, I hope. And Kim, I know you'll do a good job in figuring it all out so we can all see what's happening.
Absolutely.
I wonder whether we can, while we're waiting on Ann, whether we can in fact look at the logos on Kim, your stationery. Maybe we can tuck that one behind us. Do you have those that we can show and tell?
I don't know if I can show everybody. I think, Mr. Cummings, do you have control of the screen?
It's controlled on my computer, which is in the other room.
So that
the topic of stationery, Partners has been using a branding which was developed by Martha Marks, because I think Martha tended to phone them, so they were more tuned in with her. It was never considered desirable by anybody on the board other than Martha Marks, who wasn't on the board. So I think we're going to be looking at that. The logo that Martha developed and was very proud of simply didn't resonate, and we have better brand. Yep. And I meant to get that out to you today. I'll make a note now to send you and Kim that template.
Okay.
Well, I want to say this about it. I'm very pleased to update the stationery logo, but I'd like to be just make sure it's consistent. And as far as I'm concerned, that decision can be made by the communications committee.
Yes, by the board, our board.
And you can put it out to other people if you feel necessary, but I think it should be just consistent with what we're trying to promote now. So I open the door to change it, and we have some proposals, and Kim has brought it to our attention that we need to get on with buying some new stationery that has a correct logo. So as soon as you can get that in front of everybody and in front of Ruth, then we can press the button on that. But I'd like to just be able to identify that for the board on August the 2nd.
Good.
Does that sound good?
Yes, it does.
That'll work. I will definitely need an answer immediately after the board meeting, because I have to order the stationery so we can send out billing the following week.
Kim, I'm very comfortable if we get this in the hands of the participants on this phone, and I'd like to have Ann's input as well. We can make that decision and give you that. I don't think we have to wait till the 2nd. We can just forward on the 2nd.
Now, Ann is not on now, and I got an email from her saying she was going to be on it too. This is what started all the confusion. So she's not on now? Ann McKay.
Now, but I spoke with her last night and told her that Ruth had moved the meeting from 2 to 3.
Ah.
So she's aware of that. I also saw an email from her just a minute ago. I'll just email her right now, because she was at her computer.
What time zone is she?
But anyway, on the stationery, so that people know, I adapted the stationery that Dan Seeger developed because I thought it was desirable to try to bring Dan back into support of our mission. And I thought that was a minor way to show him that we weren't ostracizing anybody, since we need respect from everybody, all residents. And so the only thing I did was to add the NaCCRA green logo that we've been using of late, and you've seen it on the agendas that have gone out recently. But I'll send the Word template with that to Kim and to Basil.
Okay.
That's
All right.
good.
So are we okay on that? That's the one we're going to use, the Seeger one. And so, and Jack will send that to us.
Well,
That's good. That's good.
use it unless when you see it, you say, "Oh no, that's not."
Well, I think I've seen it, haven't I, Jack? Haven't you shown me that?
Seen it, yes.
Uh-huh.
All right, let me.
And that's you all probably have more capability to select something that's appropriate than I do, and I'm very happy to defer to others.
Yeah, that was on that you sent, Jack, to me was perfect, and that was of the Lifeline that we were going to look at and hope to approve.
Okay.
It looks like Miss Ann is on.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I sent her the link, and Valerie just said that she called and she went to Valerie. She wanted the link. You say she is on?
Miss Ann is.
Okay, Ann?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good.
Welcome, Ann.
Thanks.
You think, huh?
So we can begin.
Yep.
Okay, well, I think the primary discussion item today, the thing that we really want to have nailed down for the board meeting next week, is the status of NaCCRA.com. And I know Jack's given yeoman duty, and his subcontractor Steve have put a lot into it. But it's my understanding that Ann now has a website which is a successor to the one that was done by Martha Marks, only it has been updated to brand more appropriately with the rest of our product line. I don't know much about that, but if we could have some viewing of that this afternoon and be walked through it. What I'm really worried about is that we will probably take some headwinds at the meeting on August the 2nd. So it's really important for Ruth, me, and to be conversant with it and why we're changing. It's unfortunate. We want to recognize all the intense effort that Martha put into the website over the years, but as everybody knows, she has resigned, and we'll honor that resignation at the August 2 meeting. But the point is, we have to be familiar with that, because there has been email traffic talking about how many websites do you have? Is there 6 websites? How do they all fit together? So I'd really like to make sure that we all have a common understanding of that, so we field the questions appropriately. So I'm going to defer to either Ruth or Jack or Ann, who wants to pick up from here.
Well, I think Ann is, since Ann has stepped up and taken the responsibility, I'd like to why don't we let Ann say where.
I agree. I agree.
And before you start, Ann, I got to tell you, there's a great big thank you at the front of this. You've really stepped up to the plate, and I can't imagine anything more important to us than this website. So thank you all. Thank you for stepping into the breach here.
Well, I'm stepping in fear and trembling. Right now, the status of the website, it has been moved to the MobiRise platform, which Jack did. He actually transferred all the content that was in the yellow, well, then it turned green, the Martha Marks website into the platform MobiRise, which is now on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not worked in that. However, I have worked with websites for 8 years. And the way that this platform works is very similar to what I have worked with. So I think that since the content is pretty much there, I can work with it. And Jack is willing to be kind of the backup hitter, so to speak, to make sure the technical side gets covered.
Well, I'm the coach, that's all.
Okay, the coach, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think the issue with the variety of websites, there was a selection of domain names that were purchased at the same time, is my understanding. And there's been issues with timeliness of content getting loaded up into the NaCCRA.com website. And I think that's why Jack has used other domain names to get information out there to help support the mission. And I guess we need, as kind of the nerds of the group or the techies of the group, there needs to be, to me, a clear vision among all of us rather than Jack's vision or my vision of what this means. And my own personal vision would be to integrate all the information under one umbrella URL and be able to organize it in such a way that the information is all there.
Well, I would just say,
But Jack doesn't have that vision yet.
putting it all under one URL is going to be daunting for new readers, because new users of the site, because they don't need, for example, the recordings of every meeting, a lot of the technical things. So but you can, everything that's on a website can be a directory. So I think you can make NaCCRA.com be exactly whatever content you feel it needs to have. And then for those people who have specialized interests, it would put off people who are looking at NaCCRA for the first time. You may want to leave that separately. But
Well, I think that just because you have content doesn't mean you need to have a menu item on the first tier menu. I think right now, if you go under resources, and go under resources, Jack, so we can show that. Right now, under resources are the different websites that provide different information, such as the governance, all that can be in one website, different directories that are accessed through that one link. It doesn't have to be a separate URL. That's my point.
yeah,
So,
I understand. And
that's what's confusing to people. Why are there so many different URLs? We're used to going to Amazon.com. Under that umbrella are thousands of different categories. And you'll see that on any major website. And I think that we need to kind of follow that model. One major URL and everything else folds into it. The key is how it's organized. Now, I think this particular organization, for instance, if you go under what's new, for example, Jack, what's new is not necessarily what's new. Why do you have to have a couple what's new? I mean, I think that could be a little more compelling for people, that should be the up-to-date information, not, I mean, there are ways to organize it that we can.
well, I think you're the webmaster, so you should put it together however you feel that it ought to be, so that NaCCRA.com is what it ought to be, and so that it becomes that one-stop shop that you're thinking of. The Amazon board meetings are not on the Amazon. In fact, if you find your personal address list on Amazon, you'll be in a pretty fix. So that model works up to a point. But anyway, I think there's nothing that prevents you from making this website be all that you believe that it ought to be.
But I think that right now it's organized, Jack organizes, so under resources, those websites are accessible through our website. Before they were, you had to go to a separate URL. And I would leave it the way it is now because it's too much work to try to do otherwise. I think it's more important to get the information, and this is where the communication, a webmaster should not work in isolation. There should be, a kind of an editorial, or I work with a website committee at my, at my CCRC, and they tell us, this is hard to find, this is easy to find, why don't you do this, why don't you add that? And they're invaluable to get other people's ideas. And if we're working off our own, mission and vision and strategic plan, we should all be on that same road.
And what you're saying makes sense to me, and I think you can make a case right now that initial implementation package, we have a more consistently branded product on the line and as it comes up today, because we do have all the components reachable from one place. Can it be organized better? I'm sure it can. But for right now, I think if we can make the point that, and I think you can make the point that if you go to NaCCRA.com, you can migrate to any piece of NaCCRA.com that is appropriate for you, including the active aging stuff that used to be
right.
NaCCRA. And so I from just a non-technical side, I think it's already had one great advancement.
And I think we'll lay the blame and the kudos to Jack, because he's knowing what it takes to do a website. He has invested untold hours without really telling us, and I think he needs that recognition for what he has done. I haven't laid a finger on this, but you can see it's nice and crisp. The size of the font is easy to read. I think,
and that's key for so many people. Yeah.
I think it's really important, but I do want to say this: almost every website that I've known in any depth has been parsed out. The members have access to parts that other pieces cannot go, where they can't go.
Right.
I used to work in the audit business, so the certifications people had their exams and their body of knowledge, and they guarded that judiciously. So the idea that everything's available to everybody is probably a non-starter. The objective is to get everything available to all the people who need it, and then fenced off if need. At least that's my dumbbell way of putting it.
Well, and I think the board meetings have been recorded and are available online. I think that would make a wonderful member-only setting, because I get a little nervous myself, being out there with liability as a board and a fiduciary responsibility.
Yes, right.
I'm a little uncomfortable having that information available for out in the public.
I'm delighted that you have the experience, because as we migrate, this is not the ultimate. This is the next step, and it's already, in my view, a betterment of what we had a month ago. So I think we ought to declare a victory at this point and then give you the latitude of developing it further and presenting it over time. And I'm much indebted to Jack. I do know the hours he's put in it, and if I had to do it, you wouldn't like it at all. So anyhow, I think when we approach the board on the 2nd, we simply say that here's where we are. No defamation of the prior thing at all. What we had was good. This is just the next step, and then there's going to be more next steps that'll follow until we get the web presence to where we want it. So I think,
I think we've had the web presence.
Yeah, that's
the
correct.
The model that Jack has on the screen is the same content, the same organization. It's the same web presence.
Yeah.
Over time, and this is why I would say, over time it will evolve and change to reflect the needs of the organization, rather than saying we're doing a major overhaul kind of thing, because we're not going to. We're going to evolve, and because that's how websites work.
That's wonderful words, yeah. So you can give that to the board on next Tuesday.
That's really key. Absolutely. It just sounds like the perfect solution at this point. And thank you, Jack, for your input.
If I can,
very, very valuable.
Okay, if I can jump in for a second, there are a couple of pieces. First, in all the websites combined, there are over 2,500 pages.
Jack, for some reason,
2,500 what?
Fading on me.
Yeah, talk a little louder, Jack, or turn your mic up.
Yeah.
In all of the websites combined, there are over 2,500 pages. So converting that over would be a huge job. Secondly, because of the urgency of getting this done so quickly, I asked Steve Ritchie's to bring it over and to make the conversion, because WordPress runs very slowly. You'll notice the website now loads much faster, and so he's the one who did most of the work there.
Okay.
So at this point in time, what we'll tell the board is the website content is the same, the organization is the same, except we've consolidated all the different URLs under one tab called resources, and that just the platform that it's on has changed to a different platform, from WordPress to MobiWise.
Okay, I know you're comfortable with that platform.
I will be in a couple more weeks.
Okay.
Thank you for all your work. My gosh.
I'd like to say to have Kim Barclay talk about Partners has also been taking this information in from Martha. So do we have a backup, or how does that interface with what we just looked at?
Amy, who is our IT person, received all the administrative things that she needed yesterday from Martha to have here on hand as backup. Yes. So
is that a good way to think of it, Kim?
I'm sorry, say again?
Is that a good way to think of it? Do you have a duplicate set of what's been migrated in?
And that's a best practice. Yeah, that's a best practice, because even though Mr. Cumming may own the the website or the domain, and everybody has access to it, it's our responsibility to do our due diligence in case something happened, that we have it here to continue.
You can bring it back up.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's important.
We'll keep the archives of the WordPress site, so if we switch platforms, that would be available to redo.
Right.
Yeah, we certainly want that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is there any issue on any of this from the partner's vantage point, Kim, that needs to be discussed?
Not that I'm aware of. Bennett and I met at length this morning, and no, we're totally fine with it, and as long as you guys continue to keep us in the loop as you have, and there's no issue on our end.
Good.
Now, just maybe a more technical question, and Jack probably has the answer. How is this being backed up regularly?
Well, I back it up. I have a 12 terabyte drive.
So you're not using any backup buddy or any online backup system?
No, I've found there are problems with every one of those systems, but you can use them if you're happy with them.
Is it being backed up to the cloud at all?
That's he says he hasn't been.
And Steve's not back. Steve's not backing it up.
I have a cloud here. I have a tera of WD My Cloud, which is cloud-based, and but the server sits in my apartment. So
Okay, so it is being backed up to the cloud through your own server.
well, yeah.
Okay.
Also, the hosting site has backup.
The hosting site. Yeah.
Are there any other questions about this site? And how about the future? Ann, have you had time to even think about what comes next? You've given some indication of things that you would like to have.
Well, I don't want to make any rash promises. I think, telling the board and the membership that, we have a website presence and we want to, have it relevant to the members and have information that's going to be useful.
Yeah.
We'll continue to, load the minutes up, the meeting information, and it might be formatted a little differently, but in terms of the content, that's going to be up to the board, and what you want as policy statements are made, that would go up. But I'm not going to be generating original content just because I think it'd be a good idea. It's really the job of the board and the committees.
This is not a board level thing, but I wondered if you had any thoughts of organizing maybe a group of state people that might provide you advice or suggestions on the site.
Well, it would be nice to maybe, I think possibly even the communications committee could be that vehicle rather than getting, another whole or a subcommittee. Subcommittee of the communications.
How would that then work? That the communications committee we would be in on like phone conferences and this sort of thing to reach decisions?
Yeah, what do you think, Ruth?
I'm just, the whole concept is just absolutely fascinating, and I'm just trying to process all of this. And stand and salute you for all that you have done and continue to do. So, whatever is best to work this out so we don't have great letters coming forth and back and saying, so we have 6 sites and all this stuff, to make it one concise communication vehicle is perfect.
Well,
so that's what we still strive for.
There are different components of the organization that'll have different needs. And I can understand that maybe membership committee would have something that they would like postured on the site or updated on the site. I think that maybe we could create some linkages that allow committees and different state organizations, from whatever we have going, that can feed you information. But I like the idea of funneling it all through the communications committee. I think that's where it should nest. And I assume that, Ann, you would be comfortable with that, and Ruth, you'd be comfortable with it as well.
Yes, I would indeed.
Yeah, that would be fine. I think some, quick and dirty stuff like, well, we're going to meet on such and such a day, that doesn't need to be filtered through communications. It would be kind of the strategic kind of thinking, and what's our image or what's our position on this or that would need some discussion.
Okay.
I've had a situation with some organizations where they have a technology kind of a flat organization that spreads across the various stovepipes or units so that they have some funneling. That's my phone. I always forget to unhook it. Forgive me.
Oh.
Okay, a couple of things that occurred to me listening to this. Number one, we've offered to the states to host a page or so for them if they wanted to. Connecticut, for example, I don't think has a web presence. And so that's the kind of thing that Ruth would, as chair, would be taking on, and Ruth would be in touch with the different states about that, I would assume.
Yep.
But the other thing is that once the membership system is developed, that is the only way that we'll be able to control access, limiting access to people who are members or in different categories.
Yeah.
That too will have to be integrated in with this thing. So that is something that Ann McKay should have in mind as she's putting this all together. And with that, I'll turn off my camera so I can go back to eating.
Yeah, we're watching you there, Jack.
Well, Ruth scheduled it right for my lunchtime, so Valerie put me my lunchtime, but anyway, there we go.
Well, the good news is I'm not hungry, so I'm not envious.
Yeah. Oh, that all sounds really a superb idea, and just let's continue to go for it and see how it evolves. And Ann, you are a miracle worker. You and Jack, it's just absolutely great. What's happening and what all could happen as we go along. And I think also the linking to the states would be wonderful as well.
Yeah, we have a menu item. I don't know if you can get it on the screen there, Jack, showing the state affiliates.
Well, I could. We have it, but many states like Connecticut have no web presence whatsoever.
No, we do not.
And
But
so,
it would be easy to, you give me the content, we'll load up a page.
well, we have an offer out there already that's going to all states. But yeah.
Well, I don't know what other things we really need to talk about in terms of NaCCRA.com, but we do have a few items to discuss on the newsletter side of the ledger. But I don't want to leave this unless we're done with it. Are there any other comments or items that we need to talk about with regard to NaCCRA.com? And you're comfortable?
For now, I think we're in pretty good shape. But Martha, again, thank you so much for all that Ann, for all that you are doing and have done.
I haven't done anything yet. I'm just starting.
Yes, you have. You've got your
you're
whole
on
thing
the call, Ann. That's big time for us. Now, can we move to the newsletter, the Lifeline, for a minute?
Absolutely.
Jack and I had a little dialogue this morning that I would like to share. I guess this will be mostly for Ruth, but any board member would be interested. The third quarter edition of Lifeline will be printed, and probably, although it's not been locked up, it'll be an 8-page production. For the first time in a long time, we will try, and this is new information for you, Kim. We will identify and go with the professional design, the $360 version, the one that's an option each time for the third quarter, if that can be done.
Okay.
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 And then what we will propose, now this is the budget change, so we won't get it fully approved till it's presented to the board next week. But we also have a contract change with partners that increases the amount that we will be paying partners per month, and it will go for the editing and publication of the news of the Lifeline. And that will cost us extra. For the rest of this year, our intent at this point is to continue with one per quarter, which will be for the third and fourth quarter of 2017. But if our finances continue to grow, or at least we hope they will, we will attempt to, and make a decision on this later, but we'll attempt to go back to the bi-monthly. 6 editions per year in 2018. That'll be our hope. Now, we're always fiscally constrained, but as I see it, the agreement that we struck with Bennett would provide for that. So, so what are we saying? We're saying that the newsletter in a revised format, skinny down a bit, but more frequent, will continue through the end of this year. Then next year it will be a 6 times a year, as it was in the beginning, in the first half of 2016.
Yep.
So I lay this out, and I tell you this as not only communication committee people, but board people. We've got donors that have kicked in some donations that will cover the additional costs. A guy here at Village on the Green and others have provided now $2,000, and I talked to the donor today, and he said more to come. So we will to cover that, to make that transition. Now, whether or not we buy every time the graphic design that cost us $360, we'll let Ruth and the editors and make that judgment whether you want to continue with that. How much value added? There is some question on whether we really need that or not, but we're sure that we want to press the editing and publication on to partners, and the contract that will be approved at the board meeting on the 2nd of August will carry that change. I would especially ask the members of this committee to take a look at the contract. It'll be part of the agenda. It'll be one of the linked documents. So you'll want to become familiar with this, and I'm hopeful that this committee will be vocal in supporting that change at the next board meeting in a week. So that's kind of my introduction to this. And so, Kim, would you want to add anything from the partner's vantage point, or Jack?
Before I interject anything of that nature, I just wanted to recognize Miss Jean is on the call now. Hi, Miss Jean.
Good. That's fine. Good. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you.
No, I think everything you said is right on target, and we're glad to work in any capacity that you see fit, and we'll just take it one step at a time, and we'll tweak it as we go. So we're totally fine with that.
Good. Excellent.
Ruth, what is the next step?
Well, let's see what the action is of the board next week. But then I think, we should just continue on and work to accomplish these wonderful ideas that are out. And it's been a long time since we've had such good input from everybody, and I think everybody wants this all to happen, and so we'll make it happen.
Yeah, no,
and so the other issue I think too is that there's a very great excitement as we look forward to going to New Orleans for the conference coming up, and so that'd be another good spot for some publication. Try to get ourselves on the everybody to recognize that we are forward moving and moving forward. So I know that we would like to have extra copies of the Lifeline to be available at our booth, and there are other items as well. So that I think we'll just see a step at a time how we go. And I appreciate everybody's input and your good thoughts and positive thoughts.
Ruth, my question that's all very valuable. By the way, I've sent you 750 brochures, so they'll be.
Yeah, and I wanted to be in touch with you about that because, okay, so I need to tell who has the. I know Basil has some, and who else has some of those brochures?
Jim Haynes, but I sent you 750, so you won't need. I thought.
Oh, you did send us to. You sent it to me.
They'll come directly to you at Stone Ridge.
Okay, thank you.
But my
Because
question,
those will come with us to New
great.
Orleans.
Okay.
My question is, Ruth, what is the deadline when the Lifeline, do you have all the articles for the Lifeline?
The articles, as you sent me the sample, is complete.
Okay.
And it was very excellent. So can we go for it? Has everybody had a chance to look at it, to see it?
I have not, but I want to back up before we get to the next edition. I think there's something that's concurrent with the next edition. I would really like to see, and I believe Partners is committed to this, that we would have an editorial calendar which would answer the questions that we're asking right now. When's the stuff due in? What's the publication date? It's important, especially for this one, because we got to have those pieces when we go to New Orleans.
That's right.
And so the question I would, so I wanted to put that out. I think I'm not blindsiding you, am I, Kim? We have talked about this editorial policy, editorial calendar, because we really want to promote things at different times of the year, and things are happening. I can, this next one we kind of promote to Congress, but I'm hopeful that the Congress produces something in the way of new information on our resident constituencies, and hopefully that we can tabulate some of that and have some reaction across the U.S. So I really would like to have that, and to put on the docket of this committee that not only would we have one, but it would be circulated and coordinated across the board members, and even maybe reach out to the state organization people who may have something that's important for that. So I'm really hopeful. I think that would help me understand what we're doing.
Well, Miss Ruth and I had talked about that, as well as, of course, you and I have, and we only really have this issue in the fourth quarter for now.
Yeah, that's probably, and I don't expect anything, but
right. But yes, I can come up with what I think are good dates, and then I can send it out, and then you guys can say, no, that doesn't work, or yes, that's fine. And we can tweak that, but I can come up with with the fourth quarter. Obviously the third quarter, this issue that we're working on right now just needs to happen as quickly as possible. So,
and when would that be mailed, Kim? That third quarter?
Whenever we get the final proof.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we're
chicken and egg.
It's a work in progress. So as soon as it's signed off on, I've asked the designer to be as quick as she can with it. I've given her a little forewarning that we've had a transition, and she has agreed that if she was asked to do it, that she would turn it around quickly. So I would say that she would only need a couple days if to do that, and then you guys can look at it, give it a once over one last time, then it can go to print. It takes about 4 business days to print, and then it goes over to the mail house, and it takes him about 2 days to get it set and get the mailing labels printed on them and get them packaged, bulk packaged, and out the door.
What is the mailing time that you anticipate once they hit the mail, once they hit that production?
That is always a challenge because obviously they're being mailed from Florida. So it is very obvious that Florida people get them first, or this region gets them first.
Yeah.
It is also very obvious that people on the West Coast, it takes a long time. Now, I will tell you that I was very educated by our mail house person, and not to tell too much of a story, but the United States Postal Service had closed a lot of their quote-unquote hubs, the same theory as an airport hub. So they would send the mail off to these hubs to get distributed, and now they have fewer hubs. Therefore, the process is a lot slower. And frankly, to be honest with you, he told me that he's been to our Tallahassee post office and has seen things on the dock that have been sitting there for 2 weeks.
I was going to ask if that.
Not a NaCCRA, just in general.
That's what I'm afraid of. That is really true. And we're down on the food chain when we mail, not for profit.
I know.
Right, exactly.
Do you have any information, Kim, at Partners, that tracks or gives information about the range of delivery time by, West Coast, East Coast? Do we have any indicative data on that?
I personally don't, but I can ask our person that we contract with at the mail house and see if he has any. He's got a lot of knowledge, so I can ask him.
I would think
that would be very valuable
for us as you develop that calendar to know what the mail times are, because I would think our third quarter, I don't know how much change this would be, but most magazines I get, if I get it, it's the July edition, I usually get it at the end of June. I think that's kind of a publication standard rule somehow, is you get it at the beginning of the period.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. I'm just judging from.
Well, if you talk with the gentleman, maybe he can give us some time possibilities or constraints or what have you.
Okay.
Just I might add something, Basil. By law, magazines and the like, which are considered civic information, have priority in the post office. We mail using the nonprofit rates we want to do, and that's a low priority. So the magazines you receive, who generally arrive everywhere in the country on the same day, and I believe the New York post office is particularly set up to handle that, whereas mail like ours is lower grade. It's at the same level or lower than media mail.
Well, I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls from people saying they never received their Lifeline. And I pull up the mail list that I sent, and they're there, and their address is correct. And I check with the mail house, and they go, "Yep, I got it." So
where is it?
Yeah. Some people at their community got it, and some didn't. I frankly, and I hate that I think this way of our fellow human beings, but I frankly think that it is just laziness of the mail carriers, and that they just don't think it's important. It's going to some old people at a retirement community, and I don't want to deal with it.
Well,
I hate to say that, but I think that is part of the problem.
My dad was in this business, and so this has been around for a long time, and it's a dirty little secret of the post office that sometimes the low priority mail gets discarded at the post office because they don't want to be bothered with it.
How about that? That's discouraging. Oh my gosh.
And hence the fact, and Mr. Boyer had made mention on some emails to I don't remember if it was this group or what, but he had inquired why we printed so much more than we were mailing, and a part of that is because we keep about 100 copies on hand here at the office because people call to say, I never received my newsletter.
That's terrible.
Well, but if I remember right, Kim, most of this is because we send out extra copies.
Oh, sure, but a lot,
700 of those.
right, but a great deal, but the reason why we keep 100 here in the office is
Yeah.
people call to say, I didn't get them.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
Can I ask if the third quarterly edition of Lifeline is going to have a welcoming to new members, that page, and also a box listing the board members of NaCCRA?
A good question. I don't know the answer.
And I don't have my copy right in front of me, and I don't know. Jack, did you recall whether that's included? The board members?
Well, if you want to go back to 12 pages.
Yeah, that's the thing, to try to keep it down to a reasonable number of pages.
The challenge is there were two reasons. One is some people have complained that their membership was published and that caused them problems, particularly providers. Providers want to join, maybe want to support us, but their boss doesn't think it's a good idea. The other was that many of the members think that it's just run by the board for the board. So, and that the board just wants to see their name in print. So we're trying to get it down to 8 pages, and we want to give it in putting the prototype together. I gave priority to material that would be of interest to all the members. But if you want to go back, I mean, that's your choice, Ruth, because you're the committee.
I think that is a decision this committee will have to come to grips with.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, because that would be 4 extra pages of information if we use that. So that puts us up for mailing and what have you. So I don't know. We'll have to think about that and discuss it shortly.
Well, if I can make a recommendation from the staff's point of view, we know that we're trying to make this edition a little bit more compact. And to the point that Mr. Cummings made about some people, not just providers, but other members, feel it is invading their privacy to have it published. I think we ought to try not publishing it and see how it goes and see what kind of feedback, if any, that we get. If we get a whole lot of calls with people going, you didn't publish to the new members, then I can relay that back to you and then we can revisit it. But I certainly don't see any harm in trying and seeing what we get.
Yes, that's a good thought.
I don't think we did that before. I think Marlene was the one who initiated that.
Well, I would look to this committee to make a recommendation in that regard. I'm of a mixed mind on it, to be frank. I do not think that the listing of new members is particularly useful. I sometimes check to see if somebody I wanted on there, but we have a national organization, and adding new members from Florida to a member in California probably has little value. But summary numbers do help sometimes, or membership totals are useful. So I think let the committee do a little deliberation on that. And I do think that what Kim just said makes sense to me. It is a substantial amount of print and bulk that's added to the newsletter. If we can do without it and we can increase the frequency of the substance of the newsletter, then I think we've done something good. But it's a balancing act, and we need to try different things.
Well, since Jean Hurley brought this up, why don't we let her speak to it? Okay.
Yeah, how do you feel about it, Jean?
Well, the fact of the matter is that welcoming new members goes back to, as far as I know, I have lifelines back through 2009, and they've always welcomed new members.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, you can see your own name for the first time, you know, the first time you get your Lifeline. It's there. It's a tradition, and I think traditions are something to be followed, not dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, this 8-page Lifeline that Jack sent out is in smaller type than we usually use. I always used 12, and this is what, Jack, 10?
11.
This is not compromised. I got your thing.
It's
When
smaller.
editor, she used 10, and 10 is what's usually used for newsletters. But because you're of your concern, I went to 11.
To 11, yeah.
Which is halfway between 10 and 12 as a kind of compromise, because the newsletter as it was before didn't seem to have much content.
Well, and we always had a box in Lifeline, you know, that had the corporate headquarters in Florida and a description of Lifeline, and something that every publication usually includes, so that people know, you know, that this is the same publication, who the publisher is, and who can be contacted at headquarters.
You know, the other consideration is, as we are growing in our recruiting of different states, you could have a Lifeline that did nothing but names the people from different states, and that's not what it's all about. I think it's lovely that there are new members, but the news is what is important to our readers, and so we've got to give consideration to telling what's happening and how we are growing and what some of the kinds of things that are happening with our new leadership, which is very exciting, and I think that's very newsworthy, much more so. So let us think about this, and we will have to make some decisions.
But I do
down the road.
Recommendation by August 2nd. Now we're coming out.
We're right at the deadline. You're just going to have to think about going for it with the shorter edition, and because it's chock-a-block full of great news.
Yeah, right.
Another thing is that formerly, whenever we had a gathering of the members, it was announced on a full page. And in this issue, it's only 1/4 of a page,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, doesn't give the kind of emphasis that I think we need to make people feel like they're welcome to attend and they're urged to attend our spring and fall meetings.
Well, wasn't this just kind of a sample, not necessarily the end-all be-all?
Absolutely.
Because I would think that where is the registration for the meeting? Is that going out in a separate mailing?
I know there's information about the NaCCRA meeting that's happening in New Orleans, and it does it, but you're right, there gives the agenda for the days, but there is no application form. You're right.
Well, let's just say we have to lay that out, because we did have that discussion about what would be on that application. We have to have, how do you register for the hotel, and how do you register for our meetings? That has to be in there. And I would say we're just not ready to make that recommendation. But if you get the group together and think what might go in there, and we don't have to have only one size. Maybe in the third quarter we have an extra page, or maybe at the end of we can mix this up if we're trying. But I think we do have to have something in there about New Orleans registration.
And the other issue at this point is that we're going through trying to make hotel reservations. There are two. This is just with FYI, really, but there are two conventions happening at the same time in New Orleans. One is of the NaCCRA, which brings in thousands of people,
Mhm.
and leading age. But also there is this huge voodoo conference of some, and I have not a clue what it's all about, except that Halloween happens on the 31st, and so there will be this great conglomeration of people, who knows in what attire and what have you. But so that hotels are at a premium. So I don't know. You know, we could say try to get registered, but it's been for us, even as people who are going to be going for NaCCRA, it's difficult to try to get a hotel reservation. So, you know, that's neither here nor there, but just FYI kind of thing. So I don't know what to add to that, because when the deadline is just upon us, and we have to get our lifeline out.
Yeah, I would just.
Well, actually, the last 2 years, there has not been a registration form to attend the NaCCRA meetings. It just is announced. You show up. So you don't have any idea how many people are coming, do you?
No, and
not at this point.
We don't need to know that, because well, we do need to know the number of lunches for Saturday.
And that's what we've had that's the form that we've had in there.
Yeah.
But we could always put a block of information that says go to the website.
Yes, that's a good thought.
And we can have information on hand for the staff who answers the phones. You know, we've got a little bit of flexibility as far as it doesn't all have to be in the lifeline. There's other resources. You know, the staff here, not just myself, but those who answer the phone, I can arm them with the information as well as the website.
That's good.
Also,
Yeah,
it'll be on the
that's
website
great.
as well as news and notes will probably go out another time before the convention, don't you think, Jack?
Yep.
Well, it can go any time. My custom's been to send it the Monday after the board meeting. But on the hotel, I'm on to my second hotel. I'm now in the Embassy Suites. I started out Marriott Courtyard, and today I got this thing where suddenly it's the Hilton Garden Inn, and my understanding is that most of our group are at the Embassy Suites, but no,
they're not. They canceled our reservation because somehow or other I don't know. I talked with Kate, who's ready to tear her hair out, because evidently we were supposed to make our reservation XY person, or that as she directed us, and people have went and made their own reservation, so they canceled our block. So we are in the process of trying to get another place, and we hoping that it will be one block from the conference center. And so we've been trying to get a hold of the lady from Leading Age so we can be assured that we have that block of rooms, and I'm not sure how many it is.
Well,
and that people...
I'll stay with the Embassy Suites. They didn't cancel me out. The reason why people didn't go with the block is because making the reservation directly through your Hilton program, you get a much lower rate.
Well, I don't know. You know, as I say, the convention rates are astronomical. So whatever it is, we have good. This is a real learning experience for us. I'll tell you, to try to do this and with two conferences going at the same time and everybody wanting the same rooms. So, but Kate will be in touch with you all on that one.
Yeah,
I can help Kate because we do this for, you know, Partners does this every day of our lives. And what happens is that they can do a comparison of people who booked within the block and who booked out of the block, and still give that organization credit for those who booked out of the block. So we do this for every conference meeting that we do. This is normal for us. So I can certainly help her.
That would be so great, and I'll give her your number.
Okay.
So that will have, because she's ready. You know, it's been very frustrating.
Okay.
And then the prices are out of sight. So anyway,
well, all I know is the last email from Kate at 1:49 Eastern Time said the Leading Age did secure 7 double rooms at the Hilton Garden Inn for $220 a night, which is $60
That's pretty
cheaper
good.
than I got with the Hilton Honors rate,
Yeah.
and $100 and some cheaper than the room block.
Yes.
Well,
So-
if the rooms are double, does that mean that that if two people stay in the room, it's $110 each or $400?
Yeah, it would be half of that.
Yeah.
Plus tax.
Okay.
Well,
We just got a
the
room.
way the first email it said
220
it
is
was
for the room
100 and
itself.
We have
it
been
was
canceled out once.
160. Yeah. Well, if
And
you're a
so-
couple, it's cheaper to go for 220 than 168 per person.
You bet. But you'll have to check Kate's last. She did what do they call it? A mass sending of emails as they went out today. So, Ann, you get that first one. So let's read what you're on your email. Yes, about that, because this one is $220 a night, and that would be for a double. So if you cut it in half, it's much cheaper.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
in addition to that, I think they also serve complimentary breakfast, which is also a good thing, because when I was at the Hilton Riverside, there was nothing included with your double room, and the breakfast, the food is out of sight expensive. So anyway, well, I think what Kate is trying to do with this one that she just indicated to everybody is probably the best deal we could get, and it's only a block from the convention center.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me this, the room is $220 a night, whether one person or two people stay in it.
That's
what
correct. That's correct. So bring a roommate.
I wonder, we're getting now at about 4:10, and I think we've got some things that are going to slop over and have to be done before the August meeting. Probably a good idea, Ruth, if my mental gymnastics catch up with me, we have to get the layout of we have to decide what we're going to put in this next lifeline, and that has to be done shortly.
Yeah.
And so that's number one to do thing. The second to do thing is the calendar, but that can wait for a little while. But I would really like to come to grips with this. So by the time we go to the August 2 board meeting, we know whether the number of pages and essentially the content for the lifeline. Will that thing work for you, Kim?
Yes.
Kim Barclay? Okay.
Yes.
So, and I'd like to leave that in the hands of the committee. I don't want to realize that we're the committee right now, but I think that is probably a biggie that needs to come to the board early on August 2. The other thing I wanted to mention, I know we got the room issue, but that'll sort itself out. Anybody that doesn't want the room that Kate's arranged for us will just have to self-eliminate. But the thing I want you to know is on Sunday morning, we did get a confirmation today that we will have Katie Sloan, the chief of the leading age, to join us late morning. And we will have Brad Breeding there. And as you know, both Bob Nicholson and myself, we've kind of developed a little pen pal thing with Brad Breeding. So he's becoming I think a reasonably good business partner for us. So
and I did also talk with Brad last evening, and so we get the consideration of some of his expenses. We'll have to talk about. But he's most willing. He said he would do the very best he could, and that if he got any help at all, he would be most grateful to us. But the last time he came, everything was on him, and so I'm trying to figure out how we could have some kind of comp if things for Brad as well. So anyway, but we'll talk with him later. We'll see how we go on that one.
All right.
But he's most anxious to talk, and I did ask him if he would bring some of his books with him, and a possibility of somebody wanting to purchase a book, and he said he was going to do that, and so that will help a lot. But he is very, very excellent, and he's prepared to talk starting at about 10:30. What time is Katie Sloan? Do you have her
Well, we
slot
got
it
the
in.
meal. The meals, you'll have to slot them in because the meal, I think, starts at 11:30 and we can't change that. That's on the official schedule for
Yeah.
the.
Well, we'll work the schedule so we can have, and we were richly blessed to get both Katie and Brad on the same date. So let's see what we can work with that one.
If he's expecting to get paid from NaCCRA, I would have a little problem in that he's in a business and
He said I'm prepared to take care of my expenses. Anything you could do for me or with me would be very great. So hoping
given that we can't take care of each other, we're all going on our own nickel.
That's what I told him. Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And I think if he doesn't show up, if we had time to talk among ourselves, to share experience, there is no time from the meetings I've gone to where we've been able to sit down in small groups and talk about, well, what are the issues you're having with the board? You know, how are you doing this? I mean, that's, I think, more valuable than listening to a guy that's selling services to help you pick a
that's inconsequential,
TCRC.
but yeah.
Well, we can
Anyway.
also offer to let him promote books at our booth
That's not an issue for him. Absolutely, it was something I brought up. He did not.
Okay.
So, but we can do that in one of our booths. But the fact that he has a wealth of knowledge and he's very, very anxious to share.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other things we need to talk about today, Ruth?
Not at this time, but we're going to have to figure out what the hell we're going to do and how we're going to do what we're going to do.
I have a clarifying question.
Yes.
Is the brochure that Mr. Cummings put together, is that the final, or is it going to be approved by the board?
It's a final that'll be approved by the board.
Okay, I just didn't want to make copies here at the office if it wasn't truly the final.
Well, I don't know where Jack is at this point, but Jack he's got 750 copies of that, if you heard him earlier.
Well, there are 750 going to Ruth.
Yeah.
250 are on their way to you. 250 are on their way to Jim Haynes. With the changes that you and Jim and everybody suggested in the brochure. I think the board has seen it. The scan, you scanned in the copy. I think everybody's seen it.
I have not seen it.
So I think
I'll send you the scans, Ann.
I saw a very small scan which I couldn't read in the.
No, these are full page size. I'll send them to you. Sorry.
That would be good.
And well, it's been modified since that scan. So, but anyway, the colors are improved. Certain changes that people suggested. The thought is, I'd like to see if I can arrange so that people who want copies can order them directly from Vistaprint, because I'm now out about $400 paying for this.
Sure you are.
But that's for 1,250 copies, $400 including the design, I think is probably better than we could get anywhere else. Kim, what would you estimate would cost partners to do a job like that?
I think you've got a good deal. To be honest with you, full color, and it probably would be more than that. Probably more like 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's my impression is that these people are. I don't know how they do it, but I think they've got it all mechanized. They don't have people involved.
Right. All I'm asking for is that when you've got the final, and I can make copies at Vistaprint, which is fine with me. I just want to get the copies so we have them here in the office.
Well, I think we can declare now, Kim, that what we got over 1,000 copies in distribution is the final for now. And
okay.
If that gets you off the hook, just we're not going to change it. We had 0 copies, and through pretty much extraordinary effort, we now got around somewhere south of 1,500 of them around the process. So let's consider that is the brochure for now. And
Yeah. Kim's asking though that she have a supply of them in their office.
okay.
So if Ruth or somebody could send them to her, or we could go ahead and order more, but I'm out of pocket on this one about as much as I'm comfortable going with.
Well, Jack, you've got, you know, the ordering convention. You can give that to Kim, and she can simply order them. We'll get the bill for it. But if you can, Kim, order them from Vistaprint because it looks like a good deal.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. See, because I think it's a custom brochure, so it's under my username. So I have to see if I can make a custom item available for order by other people.
Well, we can talk, we can sideline with that, Mr. Cummings.
Yeah.
You can always submit the bill and I can reimburse you or something.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, we've done that. Or that also helps me with my tax return.
Anything else? You got anything else, Kim?
No, sir, not at this time.
Jack?
We're all set.
Ann?
Yeah, we'll be back in touch for true.
I'm good.
Jean?
Nothing now.
Ruth?
No, we'll be back in touch quickly.
So I think we can authorize you to call for adjournment.
Yes, all right. We will. Meeting could be adjourned. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
Thanks,
opposed? And we'll talk on the first of, whatever the first day is, on the 2nd of
If you need to talk
August.
to ahead of that, just give me a call.
All right, I'm going to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everything, everybody. You're a really great, sterling group. And so we'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye.